gets it. Lillard from the corner for three. Won't go. And that'll do it. The Warriors do it again. Another comeback as they defeat the Blazers here in overtime and advance to their 5th consecutive NBA Finals.
Get your head in the game with Nothing But That B-Ball Talk. Welcome to Nothing But That B-Ball Talk podcast. I'm Rafique Louison along with Knox. And what else better way to start off than saying, "Oh, Canada, you are hosting the NBA Finals." No, seriously, Toronto has made it to the NBA Finals against who else?
Golden State Warriors. Exactly.
Now, a year ago, did you ever predict the Raptors be facing the Warriors?
Never.
And also, we got to talk about our impressions of 2019 NBA playoffs. And we had a lot of bangers in this year's playoffs.
Yeah, this has been a really good playoffs. You know, surprisingly, without LeBron, it's kind of opened the field, especially in the Eastern Conference, made everything competitive, kind of balanced it so that everybody's on the same playing field. It's been really good. The only real stinker series was probably Detroit versus Milwaukee.
We all knew that was going to happen. Come on. We said in the last episode that Milwaukee was going to steamroll, complete sweep the Detroit Pistons. Yeah. At least in Game 2, they put up a good fight in the first half when we talk about the Pistons, right, up until they got steamrolled in the second half.
They were always gonna
and then Game 4, they were blowing out Milwaukee in the same fashion where the Miami Heat lost to them in the regular season. They were blowing out Milwaukee, only for them to come back and blow them out.
Talent disparity, man. Milwaukee just a far superior team than Detroit. The Western Conference has been really competitive, though. The Western Conference, has been really competitive.
Yeah, especially the Los Angeles Clippers. Who knew that they could snag 2 games in their last series at Oracle Arena? They came back from 31 down to beat the Golden State Warriors in Game 2, although they did lose the series.
But because of the fact that,
but let's not forget the fact that they've only lost that series because they could not protect home court.
No, well, they lost the series because they're just not as good a team as Golden State. But, you know, them winning 2 games is a big deal. It's been a really competitive Western Conference playoffs. Even Portland, who got swept. But, I mean, when we laughing at them, but at the same time, they played really well. They just kept blowing those leads. And they blow those leads because they don't play defense. You know, a lot of times they say, well, why are they getting up all these 17 and 15-point leads? If you can't defend, if you can't get one simple stop, you're not going to get 3 quarters, you're not going to get a whole quarter's worth of stops. And they just had no, like Portland, you know, a lot of teams, when you lose, you spend your offseason trying to figure out like how to get better. Theirs is simple. Go get some defenders. You have no defense whatsoever. That's why you can't hold on to leads.
And not to mention their best center got injured and was out for the season. I bet you, at least if he had played, you would have at least seen a more competitive series between the Blazers and the Warriors.
But I don't think they would have gotten to that point because I think if Nurkic played against Denver, Jokic would have killed them. Because if you remember in the regular season, the Joker was he was just running through Jokic every time that they played Portland, and I think if they played them in the playoffs, he would have just dominated them too. I think the fact that they were able to do switches where like, okay, here was Zach Collins, here was Myers Leonard, here was Enes Kanter, it kind of kept him honest on defense. It gave them different looks on offense, and it allowed them to be a little bit more unpredictable. Had Jokic played, I think they'd have lost to Denver.
Yeah, they probably would have, but at least Denver would have put up a better fight to the Golden State Warriors than the Portland Trailblazers. Because, come on, the Warriors know the Portland Trailblazers very well.
That's true.
They beat them in 5 games in 2016.
Yeah, that's true.
They swept them in the first round.
That's true.
Denver has never played the Golden State Warriors in playoff mode.
Well,
at least if they played in playoff mode, you would have had a better competitive atmosphere with Murray going up against Stephen Curry.
Right, but Murray's inconsistent, and I don't think Denver could win with Jamal Murray being their lead player. When I say their lead perimeter player, I think Gary Harris is a far superior basketball player to Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is very much of the same vein of Jamal Crawford, where I think he's better coming off the bench, giving you a spark, just scoring offense. I don't think you're really going to get far with Jamal Murray. And of course, I could be wrong, but I don't think you go really far with Jamal Murray being your lead perimeter scorer.
And that remains to be seen. Oh, yeah, another team that the Golden State Warriors had defeated in the playoffs is Stephen Curry's first year in the playoffs. It was early in his playoff career back then. But right now, Golden State, they just did what they always do. Get through all the easiest teams possible and get to the finals.
Well, the problem with Golden State in the Western Conference, and before people should say, well, the East is weak, the East is weak. It's not that the East was weak. It's that LeBron was a far superior player than everybody else in the conference. What's going on with Golden State now is that their team is far superior than every other team. A lot of people, going into the season saying Houston has a chance. When KD went down, people were like, Houston never had a chance. Houston never had a chance before KD got there. Houston never had a chance whether Chris Paul played last year, he didn't. Houston is a poor matchup for Golden State, mainly because Steph is a hard matchup for CP. James Harden can be left to do what he wants, but if you throw Draymond at him or you throw KD at him, that's going to stifle what he can do. And those other role players can't compare. Houston is not as good as Golden State. They don't belong in the same category as them.
Despite the fact James Harden had a game winner against them in the regular season.
He also had a game winner against them in the playoffs, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He shoved off on Iggy and he hit the step back jumper. But
yeah, that was sick. But that does not mean anything if you can't beat them in the series.
And they can't. They're just not good.
Just not forget, the Houston Rockets is totally too offensive oriented, especially if you're being ran by Mike D'Antoni, a guy who can't lead Phoenix into a deep run. Well, he led Phoenix to a deep run, but he could not get the job done. He could not lead the Knicks to a deep run. But then again, who would? They're just bad. We're going to get more into the Knicks later on as we recap the NBA draft lottery. But right now, sticking to the playoffs, there's a lot of impressive stunts. And the Orlando Magic and Brooklyn Nets made good impression in the playoffs during the first time back, even though we all knew that the Magic and the Brooklyn Nets was actually going to lose in the first round in 5
they put
games.
Up good fights, all things being considered.
Yeah, to each his own. They've had one close game ever since they started off with bangers, and they couldn't even put up much of a better fight in every other game. But I was just glad to see Brooklyn back to the playoffs when it lasted, especially since we barely get any New York success in New York sports ever since the Giants Super Bowl win in 2012 or 11 season. But yeah,
the Mets went to the World Series one year.
Yeah, and the New York Rangers is just basketball is a drought. But that could all change if the Brooklyn Nets can somehow get Kyrie Irving, because there were talks on social media about Kyrie Irving playing alongside D'Angelo Russell. Do you see that combo put together?
Number one, that combo doesn't work together. Number two, I don't want Kyrie Irving on the Nets.
You don't want Kyrie? Oh man, don't you want the Nets to be good?
You got a chance to Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Kyrie Irving. Which one are you gonna get? Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
You can't get Kevin Durant, you can get Kawhi Leonard. You can't get Kyrie Irving, you're going to gloss over him and go to Kemba Walker. Kyrie Irving's never led a team anywhere. Anywhere. He's never led a team at any point in his time. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on
Let's not forget, he won a championship.
His team won a championship?
Yeah.
Oh, his team won a championship.
Yeah.
He hit the shot. Take nothing away from Kyrie. Kyrie's a great one-on-one player. He's one of the hardest guys to guard. He's like the evolution of Allen Iverson. Like, if Allen Iverson worked harder on his game and had a jump shot and had a high percentage of the free throw line, he'd be Kyrie Irving. That being said, Kyrie has never shown the ability to translate his skill to wins by himself. Remember, in the 3 years where he played with LeBron, and LeBron missed games, he never won a game. Any game that LeBron sat out that Kyrie was on the same team, the Cavs still lost.
Exactly.
Before LeBron got to the Cavs, they never went to the playoffs. Kyrie goes to the Celtics last year. They run deep in the playoffs without him. He comes this year. They get eliminated in the
second round. In 5 games after they steam past the Indiana Pacers in the first round without Victor Oladipo.
If Oladipo plays, maybe they don't steamroll them.
No, it would have been a 7-game series. And let's not forget the Boston Celtics had the worst shooting season. Literally 32% the whole season.
From 3?
Nah, just in general. I don't know, man. It's just
from the field. They could have shot 33%.
It's
in the series or in the season.
The Celtics were too underrated. They're too underachieved this season. Overrated.
The Celtics, how are they underrated? They're overrated. They were expected to go to the finals and they lost in the second round.
They could not be a team that they defeated without Kyrie Irving in the first round.
That's what makes them overrated, because now they got Kyrie back and they brought back Gordon Hayward and still lost.
This is just crazy.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
You made a dumb decision leaving the Cavaliers to play for the Celtics. You won a championship with LeBron James. You could not win a championship with Boston.
It was a bad trade. It was just a bad trade. That was just a bad idea.
That was just Kyrie Irving taking a gamble, saying, you know what? I don't want to play alongside LeBron. I want to win by myself.
Yeah, good luck with that, kid.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie Irving plays alongside LeBron James in LA. Because the Lakers are going to be gunning for those top free agents too. No matter what happens in this year's finals, Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant might end up leaving.
Yeah.
The loser for their teams might end up leaving.
It's crazy. These two teams are going to play in the finals, and their two best players, win or lose, might end up leaving, which is a crazy notion to think. And the truth is, they both will probably end up leaving. Like, Kevin Durant has done nothing with the Warriors for his own legacy. Yes, he's won championships. Yes, he's won finals MVPs, but you went to a team that was capable of winning without you, number one. You went to a team that won 73 games without you. And let's not forget, you threw those last couple of games in Oklahoma City against Golden State. This is just
man. Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant, what are you thinking? I mean, but you can't act like Kevin Durant does not have rings, but then again, you can.
He does have rings, but rings are not equal. Like,
it doesn't mean anything. It's just a matter of who you win the rings with. You win rings with guys that won championships before you even came on the team.
Not only that, but you're winning championships with a team that you had beat, and under odd circumstances, they end up beating you, and then you go play for them. It's not a good narrative. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense. And you know something? There were talks about the New York Knicks going after this guy. The Knicks are the third favorites to win a championship this season, just because of the possibility of adding next season, just because of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant's possibilities.
If you're Kyrie Irving, who's coming from the Celtics, which is a good organization, you're Kevin Durant, you're coming from the Warriors, which is the best organization right now, why would you go play for the Knicks?
Because Kyrie Irving is from New Jersey, and New Jersey is right across the river.
Okay, so
who wouldn't want to play alongside? What New Yorker born player wouldn't want to play at the New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets, besides Carmelo Anthony?
Hold on a second. All right. He's not a New York player. He's from New Jersey. Number one.
New Jersey is part of the tri-state area.
Well, yes, it is, but it's not New York. Okay, so I'm going to pose you the question. You have the Knicks. You have the Nets. Which organization would you go play for right now, going into next season? Let's say, forget you get Kevin Durant or anybody else. Just those two teams as structured. Which team would you go play for?
Brooklyn.
Why would you go play for Brooklyn?
They're in the better spot. They're back to being in the playoffs hunts. And in 2 years from now, they could dethrone the Raptors again and the Milwaukee Bucks to get to the NBA Finals.
Real simple. And this is how, free agents should look at it. If you have the Knicks as currently constructed, if I don't go play for that, if I'm a free agent, I say, if I don't go play for that team, how well are they going to be? They're not going to be good. If I'm a free agent and I say to myself, if I don't go play for the Nets, how well are they going to do without me? Or they're still going to be a playoff team. So if I go to a team that's already a playoff team and I know I'm one of the top three guys, I'm turning a playoff team into an actual contender. If I go to a team that's not even a playoff team without me, I got to turn them into even a playoff team before I turn them into a contender. It doesn't make sense. It's a bad basketball decision.
Yeah.
You got to go to the Nets.
It's going to look as though D'Angelo Russell can't win games in the playoffs on his own. Without.
Now he's only had 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. He only had 1 year in the playoffs.
Right, so it's not going to look like that.
I mean, it is. And let's not forget, it's early in D'Angelo Russell's career playing alongside a Kyrie Irving that's been through 3 consecutive NBA Finals.
Don't put when he's not been anymore. No, that Kyrie Irving is a product of playing alongside LeBron James. Like, Kyrie Irving's not here anymore, and we're not gonna deter D'Angelo Russell's progress and growth by putting him alongside Kyrie Irving. No way. Kyrie can go to your Knicks. He can go to my Nets.
Yeah, that would actually work. Or Kemba Walker could go to Brooklyn.
No, I think Kemba Walker needs to go to the Clippers. I think Kemba Walker on the Clippers is a match made in heaven. Number one, I think he's a Doc Rivers type player. Number two, there's obviously an open slot for him, and plus with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you can kind of run them in a 1-2 combo where either one of them can play the 1 or the 2 at the same time together because both of those guys will pass the ball.
The Clippers proved that even without Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, they can actually play some serious games this season.
Listen, Doc Rivers. Go ahead.
Especially when they had that buzzer beater against the Brooklyn Nets back in March, after Brooklyn came back and made a competitive contest. But then again, they've always owned the the New Jersey / Brooklyn Nets. They've owned them since the New Jersey days.
Right.
The Clippers are they're like one of those franchises where they're going to give you competitive games, but they don't go that far as you expected in the playoffs.
That's true.
And it's been like that throughout the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin years. You choked against the Houston Rockets back in 2015, but that was a long time ago. But right now, you show that you can compete with the Golden State Warriors even at your weakest stage.
So that shows you
they came back from 31 down to win game 2.
So that shows you as a franchise, if you're a free agent, I can go to this team and take them to the next level, as opposed to going to the Knicks where it's like I got to take them to the first level before I have the ability to take them to the next level. Like, it'd be unprecedented if a free agent goes to the Knicks, because people like to compare the Miami Heat situation. Number one, the Heat were a playoff team. Number two, the Heat had Dwayne Wade. So it was kind of easy or easier to attract great players to come play alongside you. If you look at the Kevin Durant situation, Golden State was a former NBA champion. Just came, a possession away from winning a second championship in the finals. So him going there made sense. Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving or Kemba Walker or Kawhi Leonard, all these special Ks, going to a non-playoff team after leaving playoff teams makes no sense.
That's the same mistake Amari Stoudemire did back in the day.
Exactly.
Amari Stoudemire was playing alongside Steve Nash when they made it to the conference finals in 2010.
Right.
They got knocked out by the Lakers.
Right.
This guy goes to the New York Knicks and you get swept in the first round because and you're injury prone too.
Right.
Come on.
But you don't take a non-contender. You don't take a non-playoff team to being a contender overnight. There's steps to it. Like we saw that with Milwaukee. We'll get into that. We saw that with Milwaukee right now. There's steps to this. You are a playoff team. You're a rebuilding team. You become like, a fringe contender. You become a playoff team. Then you become like a real contender. And I got that backwards. And then you eventually become an actual contender. You vie for a championship. Milwaukee can't skip steps. Last year they were 7th seed. They got knocked out in the first round. It's kind of unprecedented to then leap all the way to being a championship team. And we saw that. Like, Milwaukee wasn't ready for those games against Toronto. Like, they could not come up with a basket when they needed a basket in these last two games. Their fourth quarter in Game 6 was horrendous. Horrendous. They all looked like they didn't know what to do. And it looked like Mike Budenholzer is a great coach, so I'm not going to really question him too much. But it looked like they couldn't even draw up a play to get an easy basket. It looked like every basket, every possession was either a bad shot or a difficult shot, and it is not ready yet.
But part of the reason why Toronto got to the finals is because they pulled off all the stops. In that Game 3, in what was the first playoff game played in Orlando since 2012, by the way, the defense of the Toronto Raptors came through when it mattered the most.
You talking about Orlando?
Yeah, and then you get to their series against Philadelphia, very competitive series, clutch shots in Game 4, and the most iconic buzzer beater you ever see in a Game 7.
It's the only time it's ever happened.
Only time it's ever happened.
There's never been a buzzer beater in a Game 7 before.
Never. Only
Kawhi
Leonard, not LeBron, not Stephen Curry, not Kobe Bryant, and definitely not Dwayne Wade. No offense. Has hit a buzzer beater. 4 bounces into the hoop.
Well, forget the 4 bounces. No one's ever hit a buzzer beater in a Game 7. That's crazy.
It's the way you do it it's the way the shots go in that matters. Kawhi Leonard put up the most insane shot you ever see that got everybody on social media, even me, marking out.
It was a great shot. It was the second round. I'm not that impressed.
You're not that impressed?
When I say that, like, okay, if he doesn't win, what does that mean? It's like, okay, a prime example, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard had the most ice-cold shot, which he's done before, by the way, on OKC. Waves goodbye, gets mobbed by his team. He has that iconic look where he just stares at the camera like, yeah, I just did that to you. And he's at home working on his golf game for the next couple weeks, because if you don't win, those moments don't mean as much. That's why, when you look at, and I gotta bring it up because it's a great moment. When you look at what Cleveland did against Golden State, LeBron with that chase down block, is iconic because they won. If Kyrie hits that shot and they don't win, it doesn't really mean anything. But he hit the shot and they won. You have to follow up great moments with greatness. And yeah, shout out to Kawhi. It's a great shot, but it's even more special if they win. It's kind of lost if they lose.
Well, let's not forget, he had that iconic one-hand dunk in Game 6 that fueled that come-from-behind win.
I give Kawhi all the credit in the world. I'm simply saying, if they don't win a championship, it's kind of...
They could actually win a championship this year. We'll find out when we get to this Thursday's NBA Finals, and there's going to be a lot to talk about in this year NBA Finals.
Tell me, who do you have in the Finals? Who wins?
I think Toronto can actually pull it off. They got the home court advantage. And let's not forget, the Golden State Warriors have not played Game 1 on the road during the Stephen Curry era. And they're without Kevin Durant, they're without DeMarcus Cousins, so that could be a problem.
Well, they don't need DeMarcus Cousins. Well, and that's the thing about both of those players. They don't need either one of them.
They don't need either one of them to be... Have you been not watching the regular season matchups?
What do you mean? Against
Toronto? Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm basing Toronto's success on. So Toronto was able to beat them even without Kawhi Leonard. I think that Golden State will win just because Golden State. You can't go against the defending champions. You can't go against a team that's as great as Golden State.
But you cannot go against a Cinderella run. Well, it's not really a Cinderella run, but you cannot.
Cinderella run, like.
But you cannot go against a team that has not been to the finals ever.
You can't go for a team that's never. You mean you can't share? You can't put like real stakes behind a team who's never been to the finals. It's not realistic. But that being said, there are guys on the Raptors who have been to the finals. Kawhi is a former Finals MVP. Danny Green's been to the finals. Serge Ibaka's been to the finals. So they're guys there with the experience. I actually think there's a real chance for Toronto to beat Golden State. They have a huge size advantage. Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, and Pascal Siakam are matchup problems for Golden State. Andrew Bogut, Kevon Looney, and Draymond Green cannot guard those three guys. If Toronto ever decides to go big with three bigs, then Kawhi, Danny Green, and Kyle Lowry, that's going to be problems for Golden State. That's going to be real problems for Golden State. The one thing, and it's always an X factor for Toronto, is which Kyle Lowry is going to show up. Are we going to get the Kyle Lowry who's been playing this playoff season, who's been phenomenal, he's been constrained, he's not taking all these bad shots, he's playing within the tempo? Or are we going to get the Kyle Lowry that's been playing in previous years who's been awful? And you can't be awful against Golden State.
You cannot. And that's been proven in 2017 when he had that injury where they were up by 21. Ooh. And the San Antonio Spurs back in 2017, they literally, after Kawhi Leonard got injured, they literally lost out in that series.
That's because he got hurt. And well, again, this is what makes the Kawhi Leonard story so special. Look at it this way. The last time we saw Kawhi Leonard against Golden State, he was running through them. And they were up by 21 points at the half until he gets hurt. He's basically off the previous season due to injury. He gets traded to Toronto. He's basically on a one-year rental because we don't really know if he's going to re-sign with them. And here he is on this crazy playoff run, similar to like what LeBron did the previous season. He's got his game winner in Game 7. He's dethroned the Bucks. And I told people going into that series, Toronto versus Milwaukee, they were playing for the title of best player in the NBA. It was either Giannis was going to be the best player if they won, or Kawhi's going to be the best player if they won.
And clearly Kawhi Leonard is the best player this season.
Now he's running, well, yeah, this season on the whole. Everybody's the best until LeBron comes back. But now he's in the finals. He's going to run into Kevin Durant at some point in time. Like, this is for the crown. It's not only for the NBA championship as a team. You're playing for the best player in the NBA title. And I think he has a chance to get it. I just think the story and the narrative, he could potentially have been missed almost a full season, go to a team for 1 year, win a championship, win a Finals MVP, and then be on a whole different team the next year, and also even be poised for more greatness because no player has ever won 3 championships with 3 teams. He has a chance, if he wins this year, to have been an NBA champion and a Finals MVP on the Spurs, an NBA champion, a Finals MVP on the Raptors, and then whatever team he chooses to go to next year. And if you know Kawhi, he's going to go to a contender. He has a chance to be a Finals MVP and a championship a Finals MVP and an NBA champion on a third franchise. The chance to make history is too great. So I think he rolls the dice and he tries, and I think they have a chance of winning this year.
Yeah, getting to the finals with a team that has been historic when it comes to making the NBA Finals, when they had Tim Duncan, Mount, Ginobili, and Parker in their last few years of their career in 2014 and runner-up the year before, and getting to the NBA Finals when you're the guy leading the team in scoring and getting all the way are two totally different scenarios. Just as Jason Kidd, he could not get it done.
You mean when he was the lead guy?
That's
not his fault. Those teams were clearly outmatched. Come on. It was Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, and Kenyon Martin versus Shaq and Kobe. There's a huge talent drop-off in that. Like, come on. That's not his fault. Don't do Jason Kidd like that. And Jason Kidd got a chip. So
yeah, he eventually did manage to win a championship there.
And now he's the assistant coach on the Los Angeles Lakers.
But we cannot wait to see when NBA Finals is going to be. But I got Toronto in 7, easily. Clean cut.
I got Toronto in 7. If Kevin Durant comes back, Golden State's going to win. But I got Toronto in 6. Toronto in 6.
This could be the only series that you could get wrong because you did mention you did not want to go against the team that won 3 times in the 4-year span.
I'm still telling you that Golden State is probably going to win. But if there's any way that Toronto is going to win, it's going to be Toronto in 6. They're going to have to take game 1, and Kevin Durant's going to have to miss a couple games.
Yeah. That's true. Now, moving on to another topic of what just happened last week, or a few weeks ago, I should say, the NBA draft lottery. And as you saw,
Knicks fans. Ooh.
As you saw, I don't need to say it. It was there for a few weeks ago. New Orleans got the number 1 pick in the draft and won the Zion sweepstakes, unless they pass up on this guy. Congratulations, New Orleans Pelicans. You won the lottery. in unexpected fashion, by the way.
So
Memphis got number 2, and the Knicks only end up getting number 3.
Right.
And another surprise being the Lakers getting the number 4th pick.
Right. So what you saw happen in the NBA draft lottery this year was the NBA just basically said, we're not going to reward tanking.
You're not going to reward tanking? Oh, man.
They said, we're not going to reward tanking. They said, Phoenix, you're terrible. You didn't even sign an actual point guard on your roster. We're not giving you a top pick. They said, Chicago, you're the worst franchise in NBA history. We're not going to reward you with a top pick. Cleveland, we've given you how many number 1s already? You can't keep anybody. We're not going to give you a top pick. So at the end of the day, the Lakers were bad, but they were competitive. Memphis was bad. They were competitive. Even though New Orleans was shutting down Anthony Davis, they were shutting him down because they had to keep up his trade value and they couldn't afford him getting hurt. But they still put Drew Holiday out there and still played hard. So the NBA was not going to reward teams who were openly tanking and trying to lose massive games. Like, I watched games in Chicago this season where maybe they were down like 4 or 5 points going into the 4th quarter, and Zach LaVine just wouldn't play in the 4th quarter at all. You can't do that. Like, people paid to go see games. People watch games. Fans. You can't do stuff like that.
This is the first time that they had the NBA draft lottery with this particular system.
Right.
It's just, oh man.
Draft lottery. It's not
this is the only time I allowed the Knicks to be bad, and I was like, this is the only season that I wanted the Knicks to be bad for the sake of getting Zion Williamson, who's had a hell of a season in his rookie year.
You mean it's freshman year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the biggest Zion Williamson fan. And I don't say that to say he's going to be bad or anything like that. I'm just not sold on him. Just because he has a good college game, I don't know how it's going to translate to the NBA. But I got to say this about the Knicks, man. If you look at the teams who are good today, we're talking about like Milwaukee, we're talking about Toronto, Golden State, Portland, Houston, Oklahoma City, all the teams who are really good, even Philadelphia to an extent. All of those teams have drafted franchise players and then put star players around them. The Knicks are the only team who believe that we're just going to have guys come play for us. What Knicks fans and Knicks organization don't understand is outside of New York, nobody cares about the Knicks. There's no allure. Like, if you're the Lakers, you can be in Los Angeles. A player can be from Cleveland, he can be from Miami, he can be from wherever in the country. He wants to go play for the Lakers because the Lakers are one of those franchises. People outside of Los Angeles love the Lakers. People outside of New York don't really care for the Knicks. But they still believe that they can attract these free agents. The only free agent we've ever been able to attract was Amari Stoudemire. And keep in mind, part of the reason why Amari came to the Knicks was not because he wanted to be in New York. It was because no other team was going to pay him that money without insuring his needs because he had knee injuries. That's the actual reason. So Amari didn't come to the Knicks because he was like, oh, it's New York, I want to be here. No, he came here because he's your only team willing to give him that kind of money. The Knicks need to get rid of this fallacy and this fantasy that they're just going to bring in guys because they're the Knicks. That's not going to happen. You have to draft players and build around those players that you draft. Golden State, Steph, Clay, Draymond. Toronto, granted, DeMar DeRozan's gone, but having DeMar DeRozan got you Kawhi Leonard. If you look at Houston, having young players and was having young players on the team was what was able to let you trade for James Harden, and then you build around James Harden. You can't just sit there and be like, we're gonna get free agents. We're gonna get free agents. You're not getting any free agents. No one's coming to the Knicks.
Don't be so sure.
I'm positive.
And let's not forget they're projected to draft R.J. Barrett. I don't mind R.J. Barrett. He has a good isolation game. He can shoot the three. He can score on the fast break. He can even come through in the clutch like what he's proven against UCF in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
R.J. Barrett is a good prospect. I hope they draft him. I hope they keep him. And I hope they develop him because every other guy they drafted, they traded.
That was so stupid. And then I was upset that they made that KP trade, but at the same time, I was okay with it, thinking they were going to win the lottery, and then they just could not get the job done.
Look at Knick fan logic. You have a player who can potentially be great, but you rather give him up with a chance of maybe being able to draft
KP was the one that did not want to play for the Knicks anymore.
That's true.
Because they were losing so much.
It's not because they're losing. They're a bad organization. So if a young player, imagine this, you're a young player, the city's yours, the franchise, you're the franchise guy. You're like, you know what? These guys are so bad. You better trade me in 7 days or I'm going to go to another country. Now you're telling me a seasoned NBA vet or a great player is like, you know what? I want to go join that team. It's not happening.
Yeah, and let's not forget the delusional fan in Italy went after KP just because of that trade.
Yeah. That goes to show you Knick fans. KP got beaten up by some Knick fans in Italy, man. Y'all Knick fans are crazy.
I mean, the Knicks are obsessed with winning.
They're not obsessed with winning. They're obsessed with themselves. They really think that they're good enough as is, and that's not how it is in the NBA no more. You have to have a structure. LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh don't go to Miami if Miami wasn't already a championship team, already a playoff team, already didn't have Pat Riley in place. Kevin Durant doesn't go to Golden State if they're not already a championship team, already have Stephen, Clay, and Draymond in place.
This would have been a good time for the Brooklyn Nets to not be a playoff team when you see guys like Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett bust out the gates in their Duke freshman year in college.
But here's the problem.
Like, seriously.
But here's the problem with this year's draft. After those top 3 guys, it drops off. So New Orleans is gonna have a great pickup in having Zion. John Morant going to the Grizzlies is gonna be a good look. The Knicks getting R.J. Barrett is a good look. But after that, the talent drops off. You're talking about maybe what's his name? DeAndre Hunter from Virginia.
Yeah.
You're talking about Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech. But after that, kind of shaky.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. And I don't even know if Brooklyn's going to pick up any good prospects in this year's draft.
Always do.
I mean, they always do.
Always do.
But then again, yeah.
Always do.
We believe in Brooklyn. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
And I believe in the fact that the Brooklyn Nets are going to continue to develop, and the Knicks, they're not going to end up taking for another highlight player in the college basketball landscape next year.
No, they've got to give up tanking.
You have to give up tanking. And even the people in the sports world say you have to give up tanking. You cannot play like that.
The only team who's really tanked with some level of success was years ago when the Spurs tanked and they got not David Robinson, I'm sorry. They got Tim Duncan. And then a couple of years ago when Philadelphia tanked, but we're not even seeing that be successful because it hasn't worked out for Philadelphia. You know, Ben Simmons still can't shoot the basketball, nor does he try to shoot the basketball. You know, Joel Embiid has health issues, so we're not even sure if tanking has really worked out for the Sixers.
Yeah, but Philadelphia could be a juggernaut in the 2020s in the Eastern Conference. It's possible.
They are a Ben Simmons jump shot away from being top 3 teams in the NBA. But you can't have a guy on your team who refuses to shoot. It's not even... I'm all for shooting and missing. I'm not for not even shooting at all. He's not even taking jump shots. Teams are... If you watch how they play, teams are literally just like, okay, that's Ben Simmons. Stay there. We're not going to guard you because we know we're not going to shoot the ball. And the problem is you can't play him and Embiid together in the post because then that pushes Embiid out to the perimeter. And then you have Embiid, who's the best post player in basketball, now taking threes all the time because Ben Simmons is not taking mid-range shots. It doesn't work out.
Yeah, and imagine if Kawhi Leonard did not hit that ridiculous buzzer beater. Philadelphia might have won in overtime and got to the conference finals, and they would have had that NBA Finals story against the Golden State Warriors.
They wouldn't have because Milwaukee would have crushed them.
You don't think Ben Simmons could go?
Ben Simmons can't shoot. It's been proven. They're not going to go past the second round until he learns how to shoot the ball. Excuse me. Until he starts shooting the ball. He can learn it while he's doing it, but he has to at least do it because you have to keep teams honest on defense. Teams aren't even defending him when he's on the perimeter.
No.
Like, where would they have been if not for Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler literally has saved their season time and time again. There's been so many games during the regular season where he came through in the fourth quarter because both those guys weren't there. Even in that game 6, he's the one who got them to the point where they had a chance to even win the game because, you know, Ben Simmons just...
Even in that game 7, he's the reason why you had that setup to force overtime with a defense, but they just did not. I mean, they defended Kawhi Leonard well, but it's just...
Great offense.
We already talked about this earlier in the podcast. The defense came through. The offense came through for Toronto in that series.
Yeah.
Now, let's not. It's the three-peat of the Golden State Warriors possibility versus the one championship run in a Toronto uniform possibility for Kawhi Leonard. And as we talked about, any one of those teams could win a championship.
Yeah, it's basically, you know, Golden State cementing their legacy as a dynasty versus, and you're right, the Cinderella story of Toronto. You know, this 1 year, the one-shot deal, the rental.
And we can't wait to see how it's going to turn out 1 month from now when we find out if the prediction, well, at least we know the draft predictions are going to be true, but the NBA Finals, we can't wait to see how this one finishes off.
That's right.
And that'll do it with another episode of Nothing But That People Talk podcast. I'm Rafique Louison once again alongside Knox. If you want to listen to it, you can check it out on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, channel Rafique Louison. Thank you for tuning in. And to all the great ballers out there, excluding the one in the NBA Finals and the NBA Draft, get your head in the game.